Welcome everybody, and thank you for taking time out on a Sunday for learning something important, that is data analytics framework. Okay, so a little bit about us before we begin with. My name is Dhaval Parvatikar. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. Over the last 16 years, I've served as a CFO and a finance leader in various multinationals across India and the Middle East. I'm now the co-founder and lead faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute, where we focus on FP&A trainings, coaching programs, and certifications. Over the last 4 5 years, I have mentored thousands of chartered accountants and finance professionals. I've been an active online instructor and I've coached more than 5,000 professionals on various topics like CFO coaching, finance business partnering, financial planning and analysis, data storytelling, and much more. I'm happy to partner with my co-founder and friend Asif Masani. So over the last 1.5 years, I've also got a privilege to host a lot of CFO events, somewhere as a host, somewhere as a speaker, somewhere as a panelist, right? And it has, given me that opportunity to connect with more than 200 CFOs over the last 1 year and speak to them about what's happening in their world and understand more about what are the kind of requirements that they have on FP&A. I'm happy to have joined by my partner Asif Masani. Asif, over to you for a quick introduction.
Thanks, Saval. Quickly, I have been also working in the finance and FP&A space for over a decade now. Started my finance career in audit. I worked in audit for a few years and realized that is something that I did not enjoy doing, and moved to FP&A in 2013. And since then, I have been immersed in FP&A roles across different industries. I have also written two books on FP&A that you can see on the top right corner, all about FP&A and from accounting to FP&A. And while doing that, I have had the opportunity to interview top FP&A professionals across the globe, everywhere from North America, Europe to Middle East. And what we try to do at FP&A Professional Institute is to bring in all those insights, not just from my experience, but from experience of experts around the globe. We do guest sessions with experts almost every month, and we try to bring all of that in our courses, our podcasts, and our books. That is a little bit about me, and overall, we have trained more than 3,500 students in the last 3 years on all the different programs that you see on the screen, right from FP&A Masterclass to CGFPA, which is our flagship 6 month FP&A certification, which we'll talk a little more about in other coming few minutes. So what we'll do is I'll give it back to Dhaval. We'll get started with the session, and also I see a few more folks joining in. Good to see that more people joining in.
Fantastic. Happy to partner with you, Asif, as always. So here are some statistics that I would like to share with you, and that will set the context for today's session. Now, more than 40% of the finance roles will either be new or significantly reshaped due to finance technology. And we're seeing that with the development of AI, a lot of routine stuff is getting automated, and more analysis and business partnering focused roles are getting more prominence. And as and when I speak to more CFOs, they are also giving me this vibe where they need somebody who understands business acumen, who can build solid relationship with the team members. So that is what CFOs are looking for today. 3 out of 5 organizations are using data analytics for business innovation. Data not only in the sense of financial data, but a lot of operational and consumer data also is being generated by organizations today, which can be used for bettering your business processes. So that's the kind of context about the data analysis that we are talking about. Now, what is the difference between management accounting and modern FP&A, right? So management accounting over the period of time has now evolved into something which is very analysis focused and very business partnering focused. That's the modern FP&A. In the management accounting days, the focus used to be on cost control, budgeting, and reporting, right? So all the focus was to prepare that monthly reporting pack and submit it to the management. But here, in the FP&A function, it's more forward looking. Decision support is what is the focus, and we try and predict stuff to bring that insight for businesses to take certain decisions. In terms of processes, static budgets was the focus. Once you create a budget, it was not dynamic, it does not undergo a change. Whereas more and more companies in the recent times are moving towards agile and automated stuff, rolling forecasts or dynamic budgets. Those are the things that modern FP&A teams are focusing on. In terms of tools, largely management accounting relied on Excel or traditional ERP for generating reports. But today, modern FP&A has cloud-based analytics platforms which can do a tons of different kind of analysis for you and produce fantastic analysis and reports that can be used to support the decision making of your management. In terms of skill set, again, accounting expertise, largely compliance focused, and a little bit of costing here and there was required to execute management accounting. But in terms of FP&A, data analytics, business partnering, storytelling, all of these things are expected for you to succeed in the modern FP&A role. So that is a little bit of difference between management accounting and modern FP&A. So what are we covering today? Especially if you are working in an FP&A role, right, financial planning and analysis role, one thing that is common is that you will be ending up dealing with a lot of different kinds of data. Now, how do you use that data to support decision making? That is what our focus here today. We'll try and first understand a quick difference between data analysis and data analytics. And then we will move towards understanding why data analytics is so important today and what are some of the frameworks. We'll share with you a 4-step data analytics framework at what different levels you can use these data analytics to support business decision making. And then we'll finally end with the Q&A. So that's a quick agenda for today. So what is the difference between data analysis and data analytics? Are they the same? What is the difference? Let's try and understand it with these 4 subpoints. First is definition, right? Data analysis is all about inspecting the data or interpreting the raw data to arrive at certain insights. But whereas analytics, you're talking about techniques and tools, that predict outcomes, where it's a future-looking function compared to data analysis. Primary focus in data analysis is summarizing historical data. What happened in the past? You summarize it, you observe your patterns, and you come up with your insights. Whereas in data analytics, it is future-looking, where you're talking about predictive and prescriptive data. What do these terms mean? We will explain to you in a while. But here in data analytics, you are looking at predicting future outcomes, with a reasonable certainty. Tools used are SQL, Excel, and basic business intelligence tools. Whereas in data analytics, you're trying to use advanced tools like Python or machine learning frameworks that will help you do predictions for certain level of forecasts. Yeah. In terms of complexity, data analysis is generally simpler, right? You summarize data sets, you observe patterns, you come up with your observations. In terms of data analytics, it is a little bit more complex. You'll have to understand the drivers behind it. You'll have to understand what will actually lead to a certain scenario, whether it's a positive scenario or a negative scenario, what is it that will drive this particular prediction. That is what you will need to also analyze and then build your models accordingly. So data analytics is slightly more complex than data analysis. Yeah. So being that being the context, now we'll dive deeper into understanding the data analytics framework, why data analytics framework is so important and how you can build on those stops. And we'll break this framework down for you and understand each of these subcomponents of the framework. Asif, over to you.
Yeah. So before we get into the data analytics framework, it's important to understand why is this framework important. So I'll just give you few reasons why this, you can bring all of them together. So as we had already seen, right, data has become the new oil, and according to credible institutions like Gartner and Big Four, majority of the finance role will be significantly impacted by the data, the huge data that the companies are generating. And understanding data is no longer option, but it will become a necessity. It's already become a necessity for finance professionals. So what data analytics helps us do is it helps us understand different types of problems in the business, how they are related to different specific business requirements, and which data analytics techniques are applicable to different problems. So it's not that you can apply any data analytics technique to any problem. You'll have to first identify the problem, and then based on the problem, you need to identify which technique or which tool would be helpful in that particular situation. So that is the first and most important thing. After that, it also helps you to think in a strategic manner. So it increases your strategic thinking capabilities and drives the data driven culture in the organization, which is what a lot of companies are focusing on. They are no longer we are making decisions on gut feeling. Every important decision in the company is backed by some data, which is used for you to be arriving at that particular decision. Okay. And communication is important as well. So once the analysis part is done, it is equally important that you communicate that in a clear and in a way that the business teams are able to take some action on it. So even if you do the best of the analysis, but you're not able to communicate well, or even if you are able to communicate well, you're not able to influence the business teams to take the right actions, then all of your analysis will not have a lot of value. Okay. So what it does is by understanding data analytics, you become an influential advisor to the business, not just somebody who's reporting numbers, which is what the end goal of any high performing FP&A professional should be. Okay, so now that we have understood why data analytics is important, let's understand this framework using an example of a e-commerce company. Okay. So we'll go through the example after the slide. Before that, let me introduce the framework to you. This is a four-step data analytics framework which was introduced by Gartner back in 2020 in one of its study that it had done, and it is also called as the data analytics continuum. Okay, so what is there on the data analytics framework or data analytics continuum? You have a value on the left hand side on one axis, and then you have difficulty and complexity on the other axis, which is on the bottom axis. Now, as you go from the left hand side to the right hand side, your difficulty or your complexity increases, but also what it does, it adds more and more value to the business. Okay, so let's try to understand right from the left hand side. So the first and basic type of analysis, what usually we do is called descriptive analytics, which answers the question what has happened in the past, which is basically information and which is basically historical data that you usually use while you are reporting. So that is the first step, which is descriptive analytics. Then the next step comes is if you can bring everything together. Okay, it'll come one by one. Okay. So in this example, I just want you to just observe what is happening in this chart here. So this is an e-commerce company, and this is the sales information for that particular company from for one particular calendar year, which is January to December. So I just want you to take a minute and observe what do you see in this data, right? What is an observation that you can see in this data? You can type that in the chat box. Okay, the question, I'll repeat the question. Looking at this sales data for an e-commerce company, which is Jan to December, what do you observe? What is your one or two key observations? Okay, let me then voice it out. So it is not consistent, right? So the festival spikes are there, right? So Sagar is saying that there's seasonal spikes in the sales data. So one thing that you notice, which is going to be very common in many businesses, that it will not be straight line or it will not be consistent month on month. There will be some ups and downs. And what you can observe very clearly is that there is a peak in the month of November and December, which might be due to festival sales, and there is a bottom in the month of April. So the lowest point is April, and the highest point is November and December. So that is the most common observation that you can see from the chart here, right? So now when you're doing descriptive analytics, what you need to figure out is, right, why, as an example, why is the April performance the worst performance of the year? Okay. So you try to analyze and you try to go one level deeper, and we go to the next slide. So we are trying to now understand why the April performance has been the poorest or the worst performing month. That is when we move from the next step, move from the descriptive analytics to diagnostic analytics, which is the next step, where we try to understand why did this happen. So now that we understand the problem, which is the April month sales, we try to understand why did the problem occur or what is the root cause of this particular issue. Okay, that is where the diagnostic analytics comes in. And let's go to the next slide. Okay, now while we are doing diagnostic analytics, what we will do is we'll try to dig deeper. We'll try to drill down into the key drivers that is driving the sales number. So in this e-commerce company case, the three key drivers of sales are your website visitors. You can bring all of them down. The conversion rate, and the last one is the average order value. So these are the three things that comes together and gives you the sales forecast or the sales number for that particular company. Now let's try to identify, right, where is the issue, right? If you try to identify looking at these charts for average order value and conversion rates and the website traffic, you might notice that the average order value was not that bad in April, right? It was consistent from January to March. However, there was a dip in the website traffic. That is the issue. If you notice at all, look at all the other charts, which is conversion rates and average order value, all of them are not that bad in April. In fact, they are somewhat in the same line as it was in January and February and March. Right. The issue we had in April was in the website traffic. So that is what you do in diagnostic analytics. You try to get to the root cause of the problem, and that is why you say also that you diagnose the problem. So now in the second step, we have identified the root cause and we have diagnosed the problem. Now in the next step, we move from diagnostic analytics to it'll be predictive analytics. So let's go to the next slide. So now that you've identified the root cause, the next thing that you typically do in FP&A roles is you also try to do a forecast, which is one of the important functions in FP&A, which is what you do when you do predictive analytics. Okay, so let's continue this example. We'll understand this with the help of the same example. Okay, so now that you looked at the data, right? You looked at the Jan to December data, and if you're sitting at the end of quarter three, which is beginning of quarter four, which is end of September, beginning of October, right? You could easily do a forecast based on those three different drivers that you had seen in the previous slide. You could predict those drivers based on the historical information and based on the market expectations, and you could easily do a prediction for the month of November and December, or maybe month of October, November, December. That is what we do when we are doing predictive analytics. We are using the historical data, and we're trying to use the historical data along with some other assumptions that might help you get to the prediction, or for the in case of FP&A, it is called the forecast for the rest of the year. Okay? So in this case, the forecast says that the sales will increase by 20% in November, December due to the holiday season. Okay. Even if you assume that the marketing spend is consistent, we're not spending more in marketing. Now, when you show this forecast to the CFO and the CEO, they might not be very happy with it. They might look at it and say, okay, this is good, but how can we now improve our performance in the quarter four? How can we maximize our performance in quarter four? What can we do now? How can we make our sales outperform in quarter four? That is where your prescriptive analytics comes in, where you have to give the business certain prescription, or you have to give the business certain directions of what they should be doing to be able to achieve their objectives. Okay, so that is where what should we do next? So we discussed this. So as an FP&A person, you are now connected with the different teams in the company, which is sales, marketing, operations, right? So you might know what all the other teams are doing, and based on that, you are in the best position to give certain prescriptions or recommendations of how we could improve in the next quarter, or how we could do maximize our sales in the next quarter. Okay, so you might, based on your experience, based on the data that you have looked at in the first three stages, which is the descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, and predictive analytics. After you've done that, you will be in a position to be able to provide some recommendation or prescription. So that is what prescriptive analytics is. Okay. So quick summary, we discussed the four different stages of the data analytics continuum. Descriptive analytics, which is the historical what happened. Diagnostic analytics, which is why did it happen, getting to the root cause of the problem. Predictive analytics is forecasting, looking at the future performance or predicting the future performance of the business. And prescriptive analytics is giving recommendations or giving actionable insights which will help the business achieve their objectives. Okay, let's move on. Now there are many applications in finance where you see this descriptive and all these types of analytics, right from descriptive to diagnostic to predictive to prescriptive analytics, used in different parts of the right different areas of finance. So I'll just quickly talk about what are the methods which we have seen used in the different categories. Okay, so when you are doing data aggregation, when you're doing data mining, where you're doing analysis using visualizations, charts, statistics, all of that is descriptive analytics. Okay, some examples are you are doing monthly and quarterly financial statements, you're doing sales reports by product, you're doing analysis by period, or you're doing sales analysis by region. And all those are examples of descriptive analytics. Let's go to diagnostic. We can bring all of them together. Now, once you have done the descriptive analytics, when you drill down and you try to find out the root cause analysis, when you try to find out the root cause of a variance, when you do things like why analysis or root cause analysis, when you do hypothesis testing, all of those are applications of diagnostic analysis. So it usually people do variance analysis, correlation, analyzing the drivers behind the cost increase, or analyzing the drivers behind the revenue increase or decrease. So all of that is a part of diagnostic analytics. Now, in terms of predictive analytics, it is forecasting, and you do forecasting using different methodologies. So there are driver-based forecasting is one method. You could use statistical regression analysis. You could do time series analysis. You could do forecasting using AI and machine learning models. So all of those are predictive analytics. And finally, prescriptive analytics is when you give recommendations, when you give actionable insights. So say, for example, you're creating a scenario where you're telling the business this will be the situation in the best case scenario, and this will be the situation in the worst case scenario. That is where you're giving certain prescription. Okay, this is something that we should do when we hit the best case. This is something which we could do when we see a worst case scenario. When you suggest a dynamic pricing strategy, that is also what you're doing when you're doing a prescriptive analytics. These are some applications of the different different stages of data analytics when what you see in finance and FP&A roles. Okay, so quick recap again: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive. You looked at an example of a e-commerce company. How does it work in one particular organization? The different steps. We also looked at all the other applications which are there in finance and FP&A roles at each and every stage of the data analytics continuum, which is what we had started in the beginning.
Wonderful. I'm sure there'll be some questions which we can of course take it in the end. At FP&A Professionals Institute, what we have done is we have been continuously talking to a lot of CFOs to understand what is it that they're looking for in their finance teams. And basis our discussions with dozens of CFOs, so we have come up with 5 core skill sets that CFOs today are looking for. One is core FP&A concepts, your understanding of budgeting, forecasting, management reporting. Then comes financial modeling. Financial modeling, not from a valuation standpoint, but more from an FP&A standpoint. That's a scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, all of that comes under the financial modeling for FP&A umbrella. Then data storytelling. It's not just important how do you analyze, it's also important how do you communicate this data to your business teams because they don't understand 10,000 lines of Excel sheets, right? So how do you communicate your story with a compelling narrative? That is what is data storytelling. Business partnering, a lot of it depends on your business acumen, how you are partnering with the business, how you are coaching with the business, how you are building strong cross-functional relationships. That is where you can truly influence the business team. So that's comes under the business partnering. And of course, leveraging AI and the developments around AI that are happening in the finance and FP&A function. So these are the 5 core skill sets that CFOs are looking for in the FP&A or finance professionals that they're looking to hire today. Okay. So here is another interesting statistics for you. 79% of the CFOs say that it is generally difficult to find the right FP&A talent. Okay, and this came out of a survey that FP&A Professionals Institute had conducted with CFOs. If you also look at any of the salary reports published recently by top recruitment agencies like a Michael Page or a Conferry or all of these, headhunters, right? You will always notice that, manager FP&A analyst, all these positions are generally commanding at least 15 to 30% higher salary than the regular finance and accounting roles. So that is the kind of scenario that we are in today. There's huge demand for FP&A professionals, but there are not just enough FP&A professionals out there who understand the core, the core FP&A that companies are looking for. So how can we plug this gap? So at FP&A Professionals Institute, what we have done is we have come up with our comprehensive 6-month program called Certified Global FP&A Professional Program, which is a 6-month comprehensive program. It's a global FP&A certification where you learn directly from CFOs and FP&A leaders. The curriculum is built in consultation with CFOs and FP&A leaders. It has 10 exhaustive modules. We'll talk about those in a little while. Everything through experiential sessions and simulations. We don't teach any theory. Everything is through practical case studies, simulations, discussions, role plays. That's how we have adopted to kind of teach you what's practical FP&A. You'll also get sessions with a personalized career coach to look at your career situation and guide you better. Placement support, in the sense that reviewing your LinkedIn profile, perfecting your resume, perfecting your job search, right? And we also keep sharing a lot of jobs in our alumni community on a regular basis. Monthly Q&A sessions. We bring in the top FP&A speakers, CFOs, and tool providers on a monthly basis to share their insights. Yesterday, we just concluded a session on business transformation where somebody who I know has personally worked in business transformation since last a decade or so shared some great insights. So we keep bringing these experts on a continuous basis. So even after the program, you will still be connected with the institute and will bring to you latest insights. All material that you have got, you will have online access to it, lifetime access in most cases for all the materials, videos that we share with you, right? So that is how the CGFPA program is planned out. Now, what is covered in the CGFPA program? There are 10 comprehensive modules, which almost take care of everything that you need to work in the FP&A function. So, Asif, if you want to just quickly cover the first 5 modules.
Let me talk about the budgeting, forecasting, and the AI and the management reporting module. So, budgeting, forecasting, we cover everything, including the different budgeting methods to different parts of the budget, right from revenue budgets to cost of goods sold budget to production budget to marketing budget to sales and administration budget to capex budget. So we cover each and every component of the budget using practical examples and case studies. Also, we do have a capstone project where we will give you a data of a real life like company, and you will be asked to go through the steps we actually go through in the annual operating or the annual planning process. We'll ask you to go through the entire journey of preparing the budget and presenting it to the CFO at the end of the capstone project. That is in a nutshell the budgeting forecasting module. AI for finance and FP&A is AI and AI is a new module that we recently added a couple of months back to the CGFPA. It is including the latest tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, where we teach you how to use those tools for AI for FA specific use cases, which earlier you were using Excel and it was taking maybe a couple of hours, but now using these tools, you could do those same tasks in half the time or in sometimes even a fraction of the time. So that is what basically is AI for finance FP&A. Management reporting is most common management reports like month and quarter ends, your flash reports, different reports that you send out to different stakeholders, your headcount report, sales report, marketing reports, performance management frameworks like balance scorecard, KPIs, OKRs, and profitability analysis and variance analysis. That is in nutshell the management reporting module. And finally, you see the financial modeling for FP&A, which Dhaval already spoke about in the previous slide, which is starting from the three statement model to basics and best practices in financial modeling to scenario planning, sensitivity analysis, building different types of revenue models, how to do the business model canvas, and cash flow forecasting. So those are some areas we cover in the financial modeling. And let's talk about next is which is the data analytics module, which is what we were looking at today. So let me ask Dhaval to cover that.
So thanks, Asif. So we have spoken enough about data analytics today, but just for the record, we do cover the basic tools as well, Power BI, SQL, and we take it to a level where you are at least have that foundational knowledge of using these tools. You're able to prepare your first dashboard, or you're able to prepare your or navigate through your first set of complex data. So we take you till that level. In financial analysis, it's not just ratio analysis. It is different kind of analysis like horizontal analysis, vertical analysis, where you are analyzing the company from internal standpoint, right? Most of the ratio analysis that investors do is from an external standpoint. So that's what is covered in the financial analysis. Storytelling and presentations, the way you communicate your story, the way you communicate your data using the right chart types, narratives, right? How do you practically prepare a good presentation for your decision makers? That is what is covered in the storytelling and presentations module. Strategy, any strategic decision taken in the company would be incomplete without sound financial analysis. So we teach different strategic frameworks and how FP&A has an interrelation with these, how FP&A is interrelated with these strategic decisions. That is what is we cover in the strategy module. And finally comes business partnering, improving your business acumen, your weight, ability to forge strong cross-functional relationships. All of that is covered in the business partnering module, where we share practical cases and examples of how you can truly partner with a business and how you can add value into your finance role. So that is all in all 10 solid modules in the CGFPA program that nearly cover everything that you need to be successful at today. See, the thing is that, both Asif and I started 15 years ago in the FP&A function. All of the classic courses like the CSCMA are great at entry level, and largely they are accounting focused, But all these things are very experiential in nature. We have tried to compress our 2 decades of experience into the CGFPA program so that you are able to, pick up things and fast track your journey into FP&A roles. What is the eligibility criteria for CGFPA? You either need to have a bachelor's degree or a global equivalent in finance, accounting, or business, or you may alternatively have professional qualifications like CA, CMA, CPA, CIMA. All those qualifications are eligible for the CGFPA certification. How will you get the CGFPA award? Two things. One is that you need to attend the live online classes, which will be every Saturday for 2 hours and for 6 months. So roughly there'll be 24, 25 classes. You need to attend at least 50% of them live. Then you need to submit a capstone assignment or a project, where enough guidance will be given to you on that project as well. Once you submit that, these two things will make you eligible for the final examination. A final exam is a multiple choice questions examination, which is for 2 hours, 50 marks. And that is, once you complete that, you will be awarded the CGFPA award. We recently got a accreditation from the CPD as well. So you will be able to claim the CPD awards in your respective accounting bodies as well. Okay, so an ROI of a program, a valuable program like this, which can truly help you fast track your finance journey, I leave it to your imagination. But the fee investment in this program is $1,495. The duration is for 6 months. There'll be two hours of live classes every Saturday that you will need to attend, and about 60 to 90 minutes of your own time investment is required, because we have designed this MBA style where we give you certain pre-reading, certain case studies to go through, certain frameworks to go through, and you come to the class prepared, and we directly get into the examples and activities that we have planned for the class. So about 3 to 4 hours of your total weekly commitment is required, out of which 2 hours will be in classroom, live online on Zoom. That will be for every Saturday, 2 hours. The application date, in fact, yesterday we just completed the orientation. That's on 22nd March. but the classes are starting on April 12th. Classes are starting on April 12th. So you still have time to submit your applications for the last few seats. Applications are closing very soon. The last date of submitting your applications will be 31st March 2025. All I recommend is that if whether you decide to do CGFA program or no, at least complete your application so that you will be in the race for the current batch. The applications will be closing on 31st March 2025. We have now about 15 students in the cohort, and we expect another, expect to reach it to 20 very soon. So make sure that you are able to grab those last few seats that are available in this cohort. Okay. Tons and tons of testimonials which you can find on our websites as well. Dozens of finance professionals have been able to transition to FP&A roles, get better at FP&A roles. There are umpteen number of stories. We have been doing this since last 3 years, and under the FPI banner, we have been doing this since last 1.5 years. So you can see tons and tons of testimonials available on our website as well. You can go through them, you can talk to them, and they will give you your feedback as well. Okay. Again, just to reiterate, applications are closing soon. Make sure that you submit your applications to check your eligibility before 31st of March 2025. Asif has shared the application link and the brochure link again in the chat box. You can download the brochure, go through it, submit your applications, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Asif and I are always available on LinkedIn. We would be happy to take any questions that you have. Cool. So that's what we had to share today. So I hope you found the data analytics framework helpful and you got some clarity about what these terminologies mean, because many times we hear them, but we are unable to kind of dissect and understand what these are. I hope the data analytics framework was helpful for you. So one thing I can tell you is that, I know 6 months program seems to be a lot, but trust the process. We have designed it to be very friendly for working executives, right? So we know that all of you are busy executives, but FP&A is something which is a critical skill that you cannot ignore. Accounting and routine stuff is getting automated. So analysis is something which will remain in the next couple of years or so. So get that first mover advantage, be prepared for analysis focused roles, and you will notice, do a simple research on Glassdoor, and you will notice that FP&A managers or FP&A roles are earning anywhere between 25 to 30% more than your regular accounting and finance roles. So that should be a good enough motivation for you to start learning FP&A. Whether you take the certification or not, my recommendation would be to at least start on your FP&A journey with basic videos, basic courses, whatever is available. There are plenty of free resources on FP&A Professional Institute's website as well. So please go through them.
So thank you so much for joining on a Sunday morning and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll see you soon in one of our next webinars. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.